Okay, we are live. I've got my coffee. That probably means it's going to be night terrors. I'm Dan Crosier. This is COFOH Live Undead, and I'm here with the amazing Keith Garcia. But first,
You write something on my face.
Keith, how are you?
I am great, Dan. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's great to see your face and to know you're still in this world doing amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, squirreled away, hidden away as best I can from the people.
From people, from COVID. Oh my God, it's
From
a
everything.
topsy-turvy thing, right? Yeah. So Keith, I was commenting earlier on your back display of all these wonderful movies and DVDs. You know, you're a programmer, curator of film and fine art at with the Denver Film Society and the C Center. Um, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into film curation? And you're also a filmmaker yourself.
True. Well, the story began 75 years ago.
Oh, dear.
No.
You age amazingly well. What is your secret?
Thank you. No, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm old. I'm 43. But I feel old considering a lot of these youngsters. It was I just a film loving kid watching movies all the freaking time. Eventually just kind of making my way into, originally started, my goal was to become a filmmaker first.
Yeah.
Went to film school for that, had a terrible time at the film school, broke away and went into just sort of like operating movie theaters, which was an area I didn't think was going to be part of everything.
Yeah.
God, what year was it? It was like 1995, 1996. Came back home from college and started working at the Mayan. And then within like 2 or 3 years, I was running the Mayan.
Wow.
And did that for about 5-ish years, and then made a big break to Los Angeles, thinking, oh, I just have to go to Hollywood. And that's when everything starts. Go to Hollywood with a bag of ideas and scripts, and that's just how it happens, right? And of course, no. But through many other trials and tribulations, a brief stint in Austin, Texas for a couple of years, came back home in 2003 to just kind of find my bearings, and found them with Denver Film. Cool. And really haven't turned back ever since. Just, was sort of doing theater management at the start of that, turned into working in the programming department. Although programming was something I kind of always did in little fits and starts with my previous jobs, but I guess it was never labeled, or at least I was never paid in those ways to be a programmer. But I say full 15 years, because even though I took a sabbatical from Denver Film from 2013 to 2017, I was always around, and it was still very much like a part of me. And so I'll say, since 2004, whatever that is. What is that? 20? That's 10, 15,
16
16,
years.
15, 16 years.
Yeah.
Being part of Denver Film, and currently I'm the artistic director of the C Film Center,
Nice.
which just translates to anything we put on screen there comes from my mind, discretion, whatever, partnership with other people, etc. But I'm the one
Cool.
turning the dial.
Nice. So you're in charge with what people get to see on the big screen, and at the moment, what people get to see, programmed online.
Yeah, on the smaller screen,
Right.
the small big screen at your home.
Right. Yeah, and you've got that hand in curating the Denver Film Fest, and you guys just came off of this year doing it online. What was that experience like?
It was very, very, very bizarre. I mean, I'd probably worked and been to 15-ish festivals, Denver Film Festivals, and this in COVID era with no in-person interaction and no we get into this. You become a programmer and you thrive at it because you really like engaging with the audience. You
Right.
put these films on because you want the reaction of either diehards watching it and loving it, or brand new people taking a chance and experimenting with it, and then what the reaction is after that, good or bad. That's the energy that I think fuels all of us programmers, is just that engagement, and there was zero of that. Now, not to say that this was a bad film festival.
Right.
It was for being an online, for being our first time doing it and diving head first. We had a lot of really great attendance that I think exceeded our expectations. So I think that's really fantastic. But what was missing was just literally that shine and polish. And I should toss in here an acknowledgement to I'm the right hand to a left hand within our artistic direction at the organization. There's Matthew Campbell is the artistic director of the film festival, and he does really the lion's share of the programming for the festival itself. I have a throughway and in-way that I can toss a film this way, or he'll have me watch something and give my opinion on it, and we have that back and forth. But when it comes to the festival, that's Matthew's that's his canvas to really kind of paint, and he painted a really great one considering too the limitations we had. And we went from having some 200-ish films that we normally do for the film festival over the course of 12 days to about 100, just over 100 for what was essentially 18 days. We just extended it a little bit because we weren't sure what the online platform would really kind of hold for people in terms of their attention and when they wanted to view movies. So right.
Well, that sounds great too. Extending it that long presents you don't have to cram everything in a weekend. So things don't have to be scheduled on top of each other and all that. And in years past, I would attend Denver Film Fest, and participate in a number of screenings and the local short films and everything. And sometimes the events with the closers at the Opera House downtown. So those were so much fun. Such a great event. So hopefully we'll be able to do that next year. But I think you guys, I know. Oh my God. Yeah, they do keep talking about the vaccine coming out to limited extent, by the end of the month. We'll see. Probably, you and I probably won't see anything until sometime next year.
Yep.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, that's my plan. It's just my expectation, so I don't get disappointed.
Right. It's. I think you're right. It's good to manage expectations.
For certain.
Yeah. So, in years past, well, and first off, I know you from, I met you and Carla Rodriguez like almost 10 years ago at the Denver Film Society, and you helped, helped us with, booking and programming. Stefan Santa Cruz's Colfax and 15th, drama.
Mhm.
And it was such a great experience, working with you guys. And you were, the two of you were just so hands on and incredibly helpful. And it was great to see, what the a close knit, film community like that, could really, do and handle. So that was my first foray into, that world, and it was. I thought it was absolutely magical. So I'm absolutely glad that you're still doing that. But you also worked with our friend, Teresa Mercado. I think you've known her for a really long time, way longer than I have. And you guys, I think you both used to program special events. Was it like Z Channel or Channel Z? I might be butchering that.
Channel Z, and like previous to that, Teresa had, I think we met because of my programming. Like as a film programmer, the stuff that I played at what was then the Stars Film Center back, when we were at that location downtown. I had a great little neo cult film program called The Watching Hour. That was like every Friday and Saturday night at 10 o'clock. And she came to a lot of those. And then we just kind of fell in, like we discovered that we had like a mutual taste, or at least when you trust someone's taste, that's a big endeavor. And I think that really emboldened our friendship. And over time, like we just sort of got to really kind of play off each other. And when I took a move over to Alamo Draft House in Littleton for a brief stint, I obviously couldn't bring the Watching Hour with me, but I decided to try a different program and wanted to collaborate with Teresa. So we created a program called Channel Z, and it was a similar Friday and Saturday at 10 o'clock, but she would program a horror side and I went on the opposite end. Or we would both dabble in horror, but like we'd find some way to thematically connect the films that we were sharing that weekend.
Wow, cool.
So it was a nice little tete-a-tete for cult film. And then after I left the Alamo, she left that area too, and took that and rolled with it into Scream Screen, which is her really amazing program that she brought over to the C Film Center in my absence. And then coming back, she had such great success with that. When I came back in, it was obviously a no-brainer to make sure that it stayed safe and loved. So been working with her ever since on that over at the C.
That's fantastic. What you talked about thematically bringing two different films together for Channel Z. I'm sorry, Z Channel, right?
Channel Z. You had it right.
Channel Z. And that's kind of a riff off of the Channel Z. The old cable channel, right? Back in the late 70s, early 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And that always had like unique programming, a lot of avant-garde things that you might not normally see. But with this, like, what kind of things were you guys programming? Because I know you kept it in genres, but she would handle the horror side, and you would handle a number of different things, I suspect.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to imagine all the pairings we did, and like I said, it wasn't that it was necessarily like two films that super went together, but we were working in the vein of of what should be like a neo cult film. And when I say that, like that was the big thing behind The Watching Hour was, there's cult classics. which
Yeah.
we know, and they're the typical midnight fare. They're the stuff you'd find at the landmark midnight movie that's audience tested, and will bring in hundreds of people. But you have to get there. You have to get to that point, and so many films don't get that opportunity. So I kind of like to fashion what I call neo-cult films, which is films that deserve that title of a cult film, but need to get there. And so the first step is, start putting it in front of an audience, and an unsuspecting audience that has never seen it or that really loves it, and let it sort of slowly build. So we sort of operated in that vein. And man, I think, trying to think of a weekend in particular, like I think there was one weekend that she did Maniac.
Oh, cool.
And I did Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, nice.
And that was like the connecting theme was like dark, gritty, city oriented, like tales. I forget. Man, I'm really forgetting which one she did opposite. I did this Shelley Long, Bette Midler film called Outrageous Fortune. That's really fantastic.
Oh, that's an awesome movie. I love that one.
And then she had something paired on the day before. I was like, I guess these kind of go together. But that was kind of the thing. It's like two great tastes that go together. You just wouldn't necessarily suspect it. And even if you didn't come to each night, it was just sort of the option to be like, well, Teresa's got one thing here, Keith's got another, and we'll follow the thread if we come to both. But
yeah, Teresa just chimed in. She said, and 35 millimeter.
Yes, and on 35 millimeter, absolutely. A huge selling point that I always tried to drive with the watching hour back in the day. But then when we moved over to Channel Z, and then taking that same effort over with Scream Screen over to C, is whenever possible to screen things on 35 millimeter. Like it's so amazing to keep that format alive. And the last 10 years or so have seen a huge depreciation in available prints. But when there is something that pops up and it's in great condition, then like that's really special to bring to the audience. And that's definitely a necessity. Something that, sweet Lord, I am missing right now. Is not being able to have 35 millimeter presentations of any sort.
Right. The Teresa just chimed in. It looks like the theme was dynamic duos, outrageous fortune, and a basket case.
That was it.
Who knew those two flavors went together? Oh my God.
Exactly. See,
that's awesome.
That would have been something I would have loved to have seen. I would have stayed up late on HBO in my youth to be like, what's this, this comedy? And then, what's this weird movie about a tumor brother that, that kills people? Like, okay.
I love it. A tumor brother. Nice. Yeah, that's true. That's what Basket Case is, And he keeps getting. It's like, it's a. I'd almost argue it's a buddy cop, show. It's like, the young kids wrecking the cop car again. Only this time it's probably some poor prostitute or something.
Exactly. And God bless Teresa there for, that's an example too. She keeps the lists, and I just sort of help put things together and then wander away and then go, where's that list? I can't remember. What was that thing? Nice. I remember the important parts, but I often forget the details. So
yeah. When you were programming Watching Hour, and I think that's when you said you met Teresa. What kind of films were you programming?
I mean, Watching Hour was the gamut of genre. Like it was horror, it was bizarre action, it was comedies, it was whatever. I'm trying to think of like notable ones I was happy to bring to the audiences. From like Psycho 2 which most people totally ignore or think was why do a sequel to Hitchcock masterpiece? Well, Psycho 2 has many of its own merits. Psycho 2, Last American Virgin, which is a really great teen comedy from the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many, and I've just literally
it's hard to narrow it down.
Exactly. I took dips in with brought in some bizarre like Japanese horror films before they were like big deals here. We've run the gamut. Razorback, a really amazing Australian.
I've got that on DVD. I grew up with that one as a kid on like USA Up All Night or something.
Yep, the if Jaws was a warthog movie.
Right, exactly. That's the best way to describe that. And like a lot of the Takashi Miike Japanese, bizarro. Well, they were just bizarro films, So that stuff was very fascinating to me, specifically when I was in art school. Learning that stuff and even he even did a couple of musicals that were just absolutely gross.
Yeah, bringing in things like Brian Trenchard Smith stuff like Stunt Rock or like I did have a penchant for going into other countries, so like stuff like Patrick and like I said, did some Japanese horror. We do some Chinese genre stuff, whatever seemed like something that I had a feeling people hadn't really seen, but they needed to. Maybe it's not foundational, but it's at the very least entertaining, where you need to add that scope to it. It's like I like taking the piss out of art house cinema, because yes, there's absolutely a place for every scope of art house cinema, from Bergman to Fellini, all that stuff. Not my favorites, but I can certainly appreciate. I know where it goes. I know what audience we will come in for it. But at the same time, give me a good old Canon Films exploitation. Give me the Apple, or give me like this random ass stuff, and let's talk about it. Let's not break it down. Let's just actually talk about how batshit crazy some of these films are, and why that's such an amazing thing to experience with an audience.
I always find it's so wonderful that people are willing to bet the farm to make stuff that's batshit crazy. You mentioned the Apple. I think Elise and I, at the beginning of this quarantine stuff, we were watching some musicals. So like Xanadu came, and then of course, hey, Amazon Prime's recommending you watch the Apple. All right, let's do that. And it was like, wow, this is absolutely gonzo. We love this shit.
Exactly. From that to like Teen Witch, Elvira Misses to the Dark, like anything that and to a degree, I will admit, there was a lot of it where it was literally just me, just being like, one of my favorite movies. I think people should see it. Let's show it to them. That it wasn't, and I'd have an audience of 5 people, and that's okay. I'd find the films too to play that would get an audience of 100 plus, and that's good. That's a good balance. But man, that was a great time. The watching that was great. I've always kind of wanted to bring it back in some fashion, but I don't know if this is the right time these days, because there's almost a glut of curated programming in a vein, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about like streaming and virtual cinema and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a point right now where everything is available in some format for people, and curating them to a movie theater is one thing, and I still definitely do it and stand behind it, and miss it a lot right now. But just being able to tell someone, hey, you want to watch a movie don't just turn on any old thing. Don't jump on Netflix and like binge some like random thing. Like,
Right.
here, you love horror. Let me give you 5 titles. Here's where you can watch them for either free or super cheap to
Right.
rent. It's, this pandemic has definitely kind of changed the game that way. But even pre-pandemic, I understood that that's kind of the way that the world was turning a little bit. And
Sure.
all the more reason to concentrate on like, well, what kind of film can I bring that does have a component with a 35 millimeter print that's brand new, and possibly even show it to someone who has literally never seen a 35 millimeter print before. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm 43. There's a wide generation gap of people I meet all the time who are in their early 20s who are like, I have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to 35 millimeter film. I mean, digital film really kind of started roaring on, in the around 2010, maybe.
Okay.
Started becoming like the big thing. So anyone who's 21 was 11 when that started shifting over. And I'm certain that they had no memory of seeing a 35 millimeter film prior to 11 years old. And then just assumed it was one way when they're watching it digitally. But it's like, no, there's a big difference. And eventizing things is really cool too. That's something that Teresa is really a mastermind at. Scream Screen is creating a full-on experience where it's not just buying your ticket and going and watching a movie and leaving. It's getting to experience a band that's tied to the film in some way, or it's an immersive experience of wearing costumes or some centerpiece, something that adds that bonus effort. I mean, a part of my MO over the years has always been, even when I was at the Mayan, I would introduce everything. I just wanted people to just know that there was someone who cared enough to be like, hey, y'all, I want to engage y'all in just a little. You're not just sitting down to watch a movie. You're going to watch a movie that I think is really interesting for these reasons. And maybe you don't, but we'll see. And here you go. Enjoy. And yeah, that experiential experience is really great. And like I said, as I think about these last like 8 months, it's just like, god damn, I hate that. I hate that that's missing. And it's hard to create the experience virtually. I know a lot of people try. Teresa's actually been really good. We've done a couple of Scream Screen events virtually in the last months. We'll do a few more here in the coming months. But she's been able to bring in special guests to do a Q&A. And we can tie in some extra stuff. There's limits to it all at the moment, but we'll see how things are kind of like shaking out and expanding, and that big hope and promise that at least I'm hoping, I'm going to be a realist.
Right.
I think by the end of next year is when we'll be able to have like a full-on in-person experience again. I'm sure there'll be some stuff in the summer. I mean, movie theaters are open right now. I certainly am not going to them.
Right.
I just don't trust. I don't trust the non-data basically of that experience. I happily partake in private screenings with 10 or less people, which we do very happily at the Sea Film Center. So you can book a private screening for any movie you want to watch at Gina@denverfilm.org. She'll take care of it. Or go to denverfilm.org at the bottom of the screen there. That's a nice way to sort of like get back to watching something on the big screen that you want to see and having a good time and being with people and having that engagement. It's still not consistent enough for me, and also I don't program that stuff, so but in essence too, I really enjoy I like seeing what people do watch. When people people take the opportunity, you're like, oh, I'm going to rent out this theater for a screening of my choice. I'm picking this movie, and you're like, I don't question it. I like to just see what they're doing and be like, cool. You of all the movies in the world, you were like, this one. I'm inviting 10 of my friends to, and we're gonna have a good time.
Well, that's cool that people are at least able to do that right now. I know a couple of filmmakers that have done that for their kids' birthday.
Mhm.
So that's been pretty good. And yeah, I do miss the camaraderie that comes with seeing a film on the big screen. I think. What was it? Last November was the last in-person screen that I went to, and it was um, Sleepaway Camp.
Oh
I've
yeah.
never seen that on the big screen. Felissa Rose was there, and Teresa did Q&A, and I've seen it on VHS, as a kid, and couldn't really remember it that much.
Yeah.
Obviously, seeing it on a big screen with a room full of people that were really into it was such an amazing experience. And you start realizing that the context of which you see a film takes new shape with the company that you keep.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that quite often. I'll watch a movie by myself and I fucking hate it. and then I'll go and watch it with my girlfriend and she's into it, and then suddenly that energy is infectious and I'm into it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, this is so much better, more fun, with that presence and that energy that you're able to feed off of. So
absolutely. And Teresa envisioning this, idea, this wish to bring out Felissa Rose was amazing. Like that's the thing. Like that's the added bonus. I've seen Sleepaway Camp a million times.
yeah,
And I do still love that movie. Watching it for so many years, you start to pick up that there are problematic things that, of course, need a further discussion. But
right.
that was the joy of having that evening, was having Felissa there to not only rile people up about how much she fucking loves that movie,
Mm-hmm.
but to get into the question of the problematic aspects of that movie, which, just to speak on them is the trans aspect of the villain, which at the time was, of course, one thing, but over time has become another. And just the where context comes in, and where the actor who actually played the character, what do they have to say? What was their experience doing it? And having Felissa there to tell us everything was just like, well, here you go. And where it elevates that film out of where we just think, oh, this is this wild, crazy slasher movie from the 80s. And it's like, actually, this is a very interesting staple in queer horror that most people wouldn't think. And that the questions it brings up in queer horror aren't the typical ones, but are the ones that sort of point to a lot of other things in that very genre of things. So all in all, gigantic, awesome night and weekend, and so glad that came from Teresa's brain, and I could help put my stamp in helping make that all happen, and we could do that.
Yeah, most definitely. That was a lot of fun, and you bring to light a topic that is becoming more widely discussed. The tropes of queer and trans themes in horror, and how especially during the 70s and 80s, a lot of that made the trope of that is the outsider, that is the villain, and how harmful that that is. I think to some or a harmful stereotype, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's it's in looking at things like, I mean, I've talked about it a million times if you follow me on social media this year, but Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, is very recently, but has always kind of been this building example of queer horror in a way that people were just like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the thing. Queer horror very often starts as, what do you mean that that's a queer horror? I don't get it. Everyone's straight in that movie. And you're like, well, that's not the point. Like, there's aspects in there that we have to look at. And some of it very often is unintentional, and then very often is intentional. And there's a really great documentary that I played in our Cinema Key Film Festival called Scream Queen: My Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
which is about Mark Patton, the actor who stars in Freddy's Revenge. And what sort of essentially, his story is the wildest story of coming out in Hollywood, because there was no Freddy's Revenge was not created to be a gay film.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like New Line Cinema was like, we've got a really great gay horror film that we want to put out there. So let's look for a really great gay actor and, bring this together. They were cashing in on the success of Nightmare on Elm Street 1. They took a spec script and rearranged it to add Freddy elements to it. That spec script happened to be written by someone who was inferring homophobic tones to the work, that the idea was about a monster inside of you that you had to repress. And if you didn't repress it enough, the monster came out. And that essentially, when tied to an actor like Mark Patton, who was closeted at the time, and as really literally like the first male scream queen, or male final boy in a movie of sorts. It was just like the perfect combination of everything that no one lined up. It was just fate lining it up to sort of be this thing. But it's so great to have that film, and the way that it works with its nuance, with its unintended queerness, with its intended queerness, to really kind of further the direction of what the history of queer film has been for decades, not just 1985 and not just 2020. But I highly recommend you watch Scream Queen to get in a good gist of all this. But there's my dream, and I would have loved to try to map it out for 2020. I can still map it out for 2021, maybe even get to it by 2022. We'll figure it out. But I would like to do a series at the Film Center that is about queer horror. There was a genre film festival last year that around the premiere of Scream Queen was like, hey, we added this great sidebar of queer horror. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I saw the like 3 films they threw in the sidebar, and I was like, you're reaching a little bit. Like, they're fine. Like, I would consider them aspects of queer horror history, but they were very unattractive, and like they were reaches. They were definitely like, if you have an interest in this, watch these films, but we're gonna have to talk a lot about context and history and all this stuff. A great queer horror series would definitely have to lead with something like double feature of Fright Night and The Hunger, because those are both films that The Hunger very overtly uses homosexuality in a way with vampirism, and Fright Night plays on homoerotic tones to create this environment. And then another like unexpected side story is that one of the characters, Evil Ed, the actors in real life, was closeted, came out, had a troubled gay life after, but that the way that he played that role of Evil Ed as essentially queer, but without it being labeled that way, is like, well, there you go. There's a moment of identification for anyone queer in the audience. I certainly knew as a kid, watching that film, that I'm like, there's something different about him. And I didn't get it from Charlie. I didn't infer that Charlie was gay. He obviously had his girlfriend and whatever, but there's that romanticism about like a male character having to deal with a vampire who's also male, who the whole goal of vampires is they attract you to them. And that was what was essentially going on was this, this attraction aspect, but also with a lot of great comedy. I think Fright Night is one of the more well-written comedic horror films of the 80s. But that's just scratching the surface. There is so much so much more and beyond, and I'd love to get to that at some point.
I would love to see something like that you've curated, and because I think not only are a lot of these films they're entertaining and we grew up with them, but they need to be looked at in a new lens, and something that we're having greater, bigger dialogues about, and especially for somebody who's like me, who's straight and boringly white, that it's like these are all wonderful tools that that I can work at understanding and understanding these perspectives. So I've had on Andy Scahill, who was featured in the 42 documentary, and we've had some wonderful discussions, and I've even posted on Facebook, like I was watching Bill and Ted Face the Music and stuff, and he right away hopped on and it's like, oh yeah, you remember when they were using a lot of homophobic slurs in the original. I was like, what? Holy crap, I didn't even remember that. And I had to go and look that up. It's like, oh my God, you are so right. Fuck. The stupid shit that we had in our popular culture back then. Monster Squad, same thing. And those were all kids, So now when I watch that movie, it's just like, oh my God. We've got to do better.
We have to, we will, and we are. Like and I'm very curious to see. There's on Shudder, and I think actually it might just be on Shudder at the moment only, but there's a really great documentary called Horror Noir that is about the history of Black horror.
I've seen that too.
And that's a really great primer for really going beyond what we sort of understand on the surface, especially for people who are not Black or not BIPOC. But that same team that did Horror Noir has been working on a queer horror documentary that was supposed to come out this year. Obviously, COVID had other plans with that. So I hope to expect it anytime soon. But even in the meantime, like there's still great queer horror out there now. We played a really fantastic film that I wish more people would watch when they get the chance, that we played at the Cinema Q Film Festival, called Death Drop Gorgeous.
I heard of that.
A really fun comedic but also dark, very queer slasher film. And it's been running the festival circuit right now, and if you get a chance at one of the online festivals that also doesn't geo-block just to a city but lets you watch it whenever, definitely watch that film. And that's more of a great overt film that's not subtext. I really had high hopes. There was a film called Spiral on Shudder that had a gay family context, and I thought it didn't end the way it didn't come together.
I tried watching it and I lost interest. That's about all I can say. But I don't even remember what it was about.
Exactly, that's the thing.
It was not impactful. If you don't, for my taste, if you don't hit me with a sledgehammer, I'm probably not going to pay attention. I'm only good if I get hit by the car.
Exactly.
But now you are, while you're programming and you originally went out to LA to work on your dreams, make filmmaker. but you are working on the Heels Have Eyes, the drag documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. Talking is all I can do about it right now.
Yeah.
It's a documentary that's been long gestating with me. I mean, we're probably about to hit year 12 that I've been working on it.
Oh,
Um, I've always drag's been in my life for a long time in regards to watching it, enjoying it.
cool.
Um, an aspect of like queer identity, like I loved it.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of like disappeared for a while, and then back in like 2008 I just kind of came into it again via a local drag show that in 2008 the drag community in Denver was not at all what it is now. Like
Mm.
in 2008 you could count 30 people that were active performers
Mm.
in Denver and even the surrounding areas. And this year, or at least pre-COVID, you could count 130 in Denver and the surrounding areas. Um, and a lot of that has to do with that growth has to do with the beginning of RuPaul's Drag Race, which started around 2009, all sorts of stuff. But I really just kind of fell in love with this group of performers and was like, each one of these performers represents a different aspect of drag, and like, why even to do it? Like, what is this art form? How does this person approach it? And what is their intention and their future? And where's their past? What's their story? What makes them
Yeah.
want to do this? And so I picked up a camera back then and just began recording shows, and then leading up to the eventual we'll get some interviews. Took a long time to get to the interview portion. But I amassed a lot of footage of the growth of these shows and the community over the years. And then 2015 did a very successful Kickstarter to raise some funds to get the interviews done. Did those, ran out of money, and then I've just been trying to figure out. There's still some work that needs to be done on it. In
Mhm.
regards to, there's still a couple of very important interviews that need to occur. And then essentially then it's about whittling it down. I mean, I'm covering 12 years of the growth of a community and a
Mm.
lot of people within it. Like we did a lot of interviews. Most documentaries just try to surface on 5 interviews or something. I've probably there's like 15 people altogether that
Mm.
we've done lengthy interviews with. And just the format too of documentary, which is one other thing as a programmer that's probably really a big scratch at the back of my head is like, I've watched a million documentaries and I know when I don't like a documentary, and
Mm.
I'm doing my best to not be that documentary.
Yeah.
um, and I don't feel like I'm in danger of that, but
Mm.
it's the thought in the back of the head. And also, like I said, with so much footage, like it's gone from being like, I'm going to do a movie, a 90-minute, 2-hour documentary, to nowadays, what if I did a format series? What if we did an 8-part half episodic something? Like, it changes the idea behind like what you're doing. Like, I could either tell one arc within 90 minutes to 2 hours, or I can sort of have an overarching bit but then take it in these sections with
Right.
different people and different themes and whatnot. And so aside from the no money part, just sort of figuring that all out in the last like year or two has really
Yeah.
been the big rub. So
Oh.
fingers crossed that it all comes together. And some people have asked me like, well, with all this free time, I bet you've gotten a lot of work done on your movie. And I'm like, no, I've spent the free time trying to keep the organization I work for from folding, because it
Right.
literally had its heartbeat taken out of it. So
Right.
um, so it's still there. Documentary is still there. It's still coming. It's not dead. It's sleeping. Maybe it's even in a coma, but
Yeah.
it's healing in that coma, and we'll wake it up soon. And I'll get it on screen because I I want to see it. Like,
Right.
I want to see it. Um, I owe it to every person that's been involved in it to get their story out there, to give them a platform to go beyond what limited platform they may have on stages here in Denver, and in general, just it's for drag artists everywhere. Like
Right.
it said it's less. It sounds like it's specifically Denver, but it's not. It's about the art form of drag, but I just happen to use an amazing cast of performers in this city to tell this bigger story. So
Nice. Yeah. God. Yeah. Let us know how we can help support you and everything. Looks like Dave just chimed in. He what we were talking about previously about horror noir. It's still on Amazon Prime. They host Shudder on there. Let's see here. He did mention that the C Center had a really cool lesbian werewolf movie. It was a foreign language film.
Yes.
He doesn't recall what it was. I think he wanted to see if you remember.
And oh my God, this is literally my job, but
yeah,
pandemic brain has caused so much. I'm literally Googling it because.
Oh, okay, good.
And it just came up because a friend of mine just watched it, and okay, hold on. Sing a song or something while I'm typing it.
Hey!
All right, found it. Okay. It's called Good Manners.
Oh, wow. Did you hear that, Dave? Good Manners. Interesting. What
a little long, not in a boring way. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. But okay. It's so satisfying, and it's essentially two movies together. Like it literally comes to a mid conclusion and then starts a whole other story, and both stories are fantastic. But yes, the draw is it's a Brazilian lesbian werewolf movie. That's all you need to know to go into it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Dave says, right on. Hope you're both doing awesome.
Thanks, Dave, and congratulations on your nuptials.
Oh, that's right. I saw you at the wedding too, Keith.
Yep.
That's cool. Well, times like these, they do kind of breathe life into new innovations.
Exactly.
So online weddings and let's see here. Yeah. So Dave is sitting there. Oh, it's good stuff. Like a 2017, 2018, 2019 flick. Fairly new. Okay. So he says he loves you guys.
We love him too. And Good Manners is available to watch for free on Canopy if you have a library card.
Nice. Cool. Hopefully you got that, Dave. Well, cool. Keith, how can the community help support Denver Film Society and the C Center?
Right now, it's very simple the way that they can support us, and it's simply by watching a movie at home. Okay. But specifically, don't just go turn on any old movie thinking it's going to help us. Right. We transitioned to a virtual cinema platform, which you can get through denverfilm.org. It's very easy. It's a free platform. It doesn't cost you to be part of it. You buy a ticket like you would buy a ticket for a movie you're going to come see at the C Film Center, and we get half of that ticket cost. So the more views we have on films, the more that we just sort of get back to us. And we're really, in the beginning of it, I really threw a lot of films on there, but I feel like that started becoming a little Netflixy and made it a little complicated for people to sort out movies they would want to see. Like, it was all curated by me, but at the same time, if I'm saying, "Oh, here's 30 films to watch,"
Right.
you're like, but what? No, I don't know where to start." So we paused virtual cinema while we went into Denver Film Festival, and then we've just brought it back. It's starting this Friday again, and we're starting with 5 films, and I'll probably lightly pepper in a film a week for the next few weeks. The films tend to stay up there for about 4 weeks, and you can access them at any time. And that's the consistent level of virtual cinema, is that you can go at any time and it'll be there, and there'll be something, or you can see like, oh, it's starting this Friday, I can watch this movie or whatever. And as this whole landscape of watching movies and everything has gone, we've had to figure out how to do something like a series or a special program. So we have a couple of those coming up that aren't just the regular cinema. There is a lecture on the filmmaker Adam Agoyan and his new film Guest of Honor that's going to be next Thursday.
Oh, okay.
The lecture will be on YouTube, but through our platform you can watch Guest of Honor, and then there's a link there to watch the lecture, which will then live on YouTube after. So if you can't make it to that specific showtime, then you can watch it after. Gonna do a 3-film silent film series with Howie Moshevitz in January. We're gonna do a Janus Films has lovingly restored a bunch of Wong Kar-wai's films, and we're gonna do a Wong Kar-wai retrospective in February.
Nice.
So details on that coming soon. And all those things will be portions of like a limited run with some Q&As with notable experts and guests and everything. So creating that extra experience for everybody. Right now on virtual cinema starting Friday, 2 key standouts are, there's a really amazing film from this documentary filmmaker Frederick Wiseman called City Hall. He's a very he's a documentarian that just lets the camera run. Like he edits, but there's no narration, and it's not about talking heads. It's about just putting you in the world and letting you experience it, and then being part of conversations that happen. But and those documentaries become so rich. And City Hall, as a warning, is 4.5 hours long.
Right.
But it is one of the most fascinating portraits of how a city government should work, and actually kind of teaches you how your city government works. Like there was a lot of things I went into it thinking like, well, isn't that just how that's handled? Isn't that how they do these things? Isn't that how education or civic anything runs? And it focuses on Boston and how their city runs. And it's fascinating. You meet fascinating people, you learn fascinating things. And at 4.5 hours, that sounds daunting for a movie.
Right.
But watch it in 1 hour chunks over the course of a day, or watch 2 hours, go out to eat and come back and watch the second half. You would do that with a Netflix series that got your interest for a little bit.
Right. But all 13 episodes. Wow.
Exactly. So City Hall's great, as is we're starting a brand new restoration of this amazing coming of age film from 1985 called Smooth Talk. It's directed by Joyce Chopra, based on a novel by Joyce Carol Oates. Stars Laura Dern in one of her very first roles. 1985. She literally was like a teenager. It's really fantastic and needs to be seen. It's definitely like an amazing film. But Janus Films lovingly restored it. It looks amazing, and that'll be on the platform too for a while. So, wow, man,
there's no shortage of amazing art to be shared.
Exactly. So that's, if you want to support Denver Film, please watch. And it's a very easy platform. And if you have any problems, let me know. Email me. There's a good tech source through the platform that works out anything with you, but I can also help you, me or any of our staff. And do the platform, do it that way, enjoy a film, or consider, renting out a private screening at the C for you and 9 other guests to watch whatever you want to watch. And that supports us as well. And those are our 2 options right now until we figure out when it's going to be safe enough and a smart enough idea to open our theater space back up publicly, for movies on a regular basis. So there you go.
Cool. Well, Keith, thanks for being so generous with your time and coming on here and, chatting it up with me and stuff, and, sharing with us, what you do, and, what Denver Film Society and the C Center is doing, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I love to talk about this fantastic organization of ours and just talk about movies and memories, and all this stuff.
Most definitely. Yeah, we'll have to have you on again sometime, and I think next time we'll bring Teresa on, and when we can just
that would be amazing.
That we'll just gush over horror and cult films and stuff.
Exactly, I would love that.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Keith. Stick around for a little bit, and to everybody who was able to tune in and catch Keith Garcia here. Thanks so much. Thanks, Dave, for your comments, and Kim. Thanks for chiming in, and Kane. And yeah, everybody. I hope you're well. Stay safe. Be good and be kind to everybody. One other thing too. Special thanks to my sponsors, Sumner Twins Talent. They're going to be Alien. They're changing over to Alien Donut Films, and of course to my producers, Stefan Santa Cruz and Amanda Armstrong. Yeah, take care, and everybody. Yeah, be good, be kind. We love you.